Hi, I'm Carl Tannenbaum, Chief Economist for Northern Trust. Russia's invasion of Ukraine last month has produced substantial numbers of casualties and significant damage to the country. Our thoughts are certainly with those under siege, and our hopes are for peace. Given the humanitarian elements of the situation, it may seem insensitive to discuss it in economic terms, but we are getting some major questions on that front, which I will try and answer here. First, how will the conflict affect economic activity? The fighting and the sanctions levied by Western countries against Russia will limit supplies of key commodities. Russia and Ukraine are significant sources of grains and minerals, and Russia is a major exporter of oil and gas. All of these things are becoming more expensive, which raises inflation and dampens economic growth. The impact of the situation will be most keenly felt in Western Europe, which is very dependent on Russian supplies. The direct impact will be much less pronounced in the United States, which has a very limited economic relationship with Russia. Secondly, will the sanctions imposed by the U.S. and Europe against Russia be effective? Even in these early days, it is clear that Western sanctions are introducing significant financial hardship on Russia. Its currency has declined, its markets have closed, inflation and interest rates are shooting up, and some banks are reportedly on the verge of failure. The freezing of assets held by the Russian central bank and the removal of many Russian banks from international payment systems are inflicting economic pain and creating financial instability. What remains to be seen is whether economic weapons, no matter how formidable, will be enough to counter the more traditional forces advancing into Ukraine and force Russia to the bargaining table. Third, will the situation in Eastern Europe be enough to change the course of Federal Reserve policy? In the near term, the Fed is likely to stay the course it has been previewing for some time. The conflict will add slightly to inflation, which is already running well above desired levels. And the outlook for growth in the United States is likely to be buoyed by the recession of COVID-19 and public health restrictions designed to manage it. We still expect a string of quarter-point increases from the Fed that will start later this month. And lastly, could the situation in Ukraine kindle an even broader set of economic challenges? We're watching several avenues. There are a handful of banks and industrial companies in Europe that have important exposure to Russia, and their struggles might be an avenue of contagion to other entities. Investors around the world are becoming a little more risk-averse, creating market volatility. And while it isn't pleasant to think about, if the conflict escalates either militarily or in cyberspace, the outlook would clearly darken. We'll be working to keep you updated on this terribly unsettling situation. And that's the view from here.